In this episode, I'll talk about my what, why, and how I build my personal projects in public, how that short, unique video I made marks the beginning of my new project, Piano Black, and how it all relates to my endeavor of completing 9 passion projects in 12 months. Let's get started. What was that video? Well, first, let me start with the goal. I want to make 9 passion projects in 12 months, all while documenting the journey. And that journey will be illustrated by building something one piece at a time, pun intended. And each piece will make one complete shape. So you will slowly see, as each project is completed, you see that shape start to build itself. And you start to reveal, slowly unpeel what it really is. But we only know that as time goes on and as I finish these projects. It's all going to make sense a year from now. The first debut of this great experiment is a big band jazz-inspired title sequence called Piano Black. More accurately, it's a title sequence for the show Piano Black, which I made up. By the way, Piano Black is not a real show, but I made it as kind of like a conception, as a catalyst, so that way I can make this title sequence. Like, what if the show did exist? What would its title sequence look like? Piano Black is a show inspired by sci-fi westerns and like Guardians of the Galaxy and Cowboy Bebop, stuff like that. Something that's been on my mind for a while. Probably one of my dream projects, something that I've always wanted to do, but I never really managed to start it. Kind of the relay in the previous episode is like, sometimes you got the idea, but you don't actually start it, or you make time for it. So I want to make 9 passion projects in 12 months, all while documenting the process online throughout the way, aka building in public. So what is building in public? What does that mean? Well, I found on Google that building in public is the business practice of taking an audience along for the ride as entrepreneurs develop a product. So it actually sounds like what I'm doing, just replace product with project. But actually, maybe not, because you're not just limited to projects here. I'll get to that in a minute. By the way, one fun fact about that video, that music that I found, A Warm Welcome by Martin Landstorm, one of the issues that I've been having was wanting to pick a energetic song, but being worried about copyright, because last thing I want is put time to this project and then get it taken down as soon as I put it up, because I use a copyrighted song. What spawned this idea was this feeling of big band, like jazz and like very powerful, loud, energetic music, right? So I remember I made a playlist kind of starting from like songs like Rip Flash and Caravan and even like the Cowboy Bebop theme. At some point I found this song, A Warm Welcome. It's been sitting in my inspiration playlist for over a year now. So I was kind of in that dilemma for a minute. Then I realized, wait a minute, as I'm recording this just a few days ago, that I realized that song is actually can be brought. Like, my intuition told me to check, because I saw A Warm Welcome on YouTube and it didn't have much views on it. So I was like, okay. So then something told me to look it up on Epidemic Sound, and then there you go, it shows up. So for a whole year, I was worrying about copyright when the answer is really in front of me the whole time. It's kind of funny. To put it on the bow, this video establishes what I'm building, literally and figuratively, because, I'm building something in real time as I'm building something and like telling a story in this weird little artifact. All right, so why am I building in public? The main reason why I want to build in public was same reason why I wanted to start rebooting, is because I wanted that accountability tool. I had this idea for over a year now, yet I never started it, right? Why? Right? It's because that it never really felt urgent, right? It never really felt like a serious project, because it's just a side project, right? So it kind of falls to the wayside. Building in public made me realize that I can provide value and share my journey and how I learned certain things by simultaneously still completing the things that I've always wanted to complete. Because if I don't build in public, what happens is I usually start on it, maybe get really hyped about it for a few weeks, and then something urgent happens, like something unplanned or unpredicted takes priority. Slowly and slowly, that project gets forgotten until maybe months later, until I decide I'm going to start on it again, and then the whole cycle repeats again. And really, the main reason why I want to build in public is like, I know it works. Like using rebooting, for example, like the fact that I got that project completed in the first place means that this actually has some potential. This strategy has some potential, and people have found value out of it, which is what really is most important to me. People have actually told me after I released rebooting that they actually appreciated and they loved seeing me build that project in real time and how cool it was. We know there's a method to it. We know that's possible. The main thing was I have to recalibrate on how to make this work. And the funny thing is, technically the actual plan really was to release Rebooting in 2 weeks and then start this right after. That would have been back in like September, maybe October. Here we are, and like as I'm recording this, like at the beginning of December, and I'm just now starting it. But we'll talk about that next episode. And another reason why I want to do this is because I want to have a playground. I want to have a reason and motivation to work on these projects and use it as a way to kind of experiment and to learn, right? And a lot of times I have dreams to make certain things and make a particular type of project, yet I never really find time to do it because it doesn't feel as much of it as a priority as it should be. Doing it in public means that it's kind of like now people are kind of looking forward to it. There's a little bit of accountability there, as I keep saying. The reason why I'm doing it now instead of maybe later or when I feel less busy, so to speak, because if I don't start now, then when? It's like at some point, like as a creative, right? Me personally, I want to complete these projects to see it through. I want to see it through. I have all these ideas in my head, yet I never really get a chance to realize them. I've always felt like I could do more than what I've done in the past. Like I feel like I've only been using like 20% of my power. When really like, what if I use 40% of my power, right? What would that look? Because obviously I have that other 60% has to go somewhere. So what if I just take a little bit more energy and put a little bit more effort to make longer form projects? What would that look like? This is why I'm doing this. Like I always felt like I could do more than like a peanut butter jelly sandwich putting itself together, right? I always felt like I could do more than that, like for years, really. And this is my opportunity to kind of challenge myself. I want to see what would happen or what I can do I put my mind on a large scope project, like a title sequence. Like, and when I say title sequence, I'm thinking of like stuff you see when you watch a Netflix show or like on Amazon original or something like that. Like, it's something that, it's a full blown, or like the end of a movie when you have to, in the movie theater and you see all the credits of the people who worked on it, stuff like that. And the projects that I'm talking about, these passion projects, are not just limited to motion design either. Like it's a vehicle to do anything. It could be a VR AR project. It could be a interactive like video game or some form of interactive website. It could be a short film, like a long short film. It could be like a music album. It could be a mobile app, which by the way, I technically already started, but I'm excited to talk about that later in this journey. So all these things, this big shape or artifact that I'm building is meant to be a allegory or metaphor it's meant to be a catalyst where I provide value to others by sharing what I learn as I'm doing them. So how will I do this? I will post highlights on Instagram and Twitter for each milestone or each major or really minor milestone of the project. Ideally daily updates, but we're going to keep it low scope for now and just have it be like minor updates. So maybe by default it'd be daily, but if for some reason I didn't make too much progress on a particular day, then there's no worries. As long as I have at least a daily update on Instagram or Twitter once a week is the minimum, but ideally maximum every day, just like what I did with Rebooting. And as I do that, I will share kind of like the real-time process on my Instagram story. Really show, oh, look, check this out. Check out this cool thing, whatever, and tease and all that stuff to build up to what I'm going to post that day. Then I post a recap on LinkedIn once a week. So kind of like really like a super version of the daily updates on Instagram and Twitter. Really more of a behind the scenes of the thinking of why I did something that particular week. Then finally at the end of that week, ideally every Thursday, I release an episode of this podcast of what happened that week, what problem I was trying to solve or what cool thing I made or whatever. This podcast would be kind of like the platform for that. Right? Think of it like a public journal of my process. That's basically what it is. Barring any special episodes or anything like that. This will not be the only type of content that will be on this podcast. Think of this journal as like a fallback or like a default topic on a regular week. And then every 3 episodes, there will be a guest, right? So in essence, each episode will examine either my own process or the guest's process and how they solved a particular problem. So like the actual meat of the content would be like behind the scenes processes, kind of like thoughts, what I'm thinking, what the guest may be thinking, what the process, how I solve the problem. Hey, check out this rig I made, and I was kind of trying to figure out how to achieve this effect, but here's how I did it. Or me talking about the background behind the project. Essentially a shorter format of what we've already seen. So that means that each episode would be 15 to 20 minutes max. And then maybe guest episodes are going to be a little bit longer, maybe 25 minutes to an hour, depending on the content. Each episode would be just as long as it needs to be. That's going to be real. That's going to be real. Excuse me. For all you audio listeners, I'm going to take a be real real quick. Oh, there you go. This is what I got. That's funny. Yeah, so each episode would be 15 to 20 minutes max. Each episode would be as long as it needs to be, and then nothing more, right? So, and not stray too far away from the topic. I say that right after. I gotta be real. But that was a funny part, so I'm just gonna leave that in. I still gotta keep the show engaging. And then soon in the future, I hope to provide templates, project files, maybe guides, tutorials, hopefully one day blog posts, other helpful content as I'm making these projects and as I'm documenting these projects in real time. And all of that is to say that these weekly recaps will not be codependent. So that means that even if I didn't make a major amount of progress that week on the project that I'm working on, like on Piano Black, I would still release the episode talking about some topic or whatever. There'll still be an episode every week, every Thursday. It's just that think of the project that I'm working on. This project 1, Piano Black, would be like a fallback, or it'd be like a default topic, so to speak, right? When there's a notable thing to talk about, or when there's a guest episode, it'd be something different. And maybe some episodes would be in 2 parts. Maybe I'll talk about here's the update what I'm working on, and then I move on to the next topic. Whatever it may be, it's not going to be just the project. So yeah, so that's how I'm going to do this. That's how I'm going to build in public. In conclusion, this piece represents my goal of completing 9 projects in 12 months. And you will slowly see that shape you see in that video grow and evolve over time. And I'm excited to see how that grows. I really am. I'm excited to see what this whole experiment or journey will look like this time next year, 2023, December 2023. That'd be very interesting. And then secondly, the first project of this big experiment is Piano Black, essentially a big band inspired title sequence for a show that I made up. Just think of a Netflix intro. Just think of a title sequence for HBO or something like that. With all that, I'm going to build these things in public and document that on social media and on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn consistently every week. And any questions, any concerns, any insights that people have about that project or about the chapter or the section of the project that I'm on, I can answer either on this podcast or on these platforms. That's the idea. So in a way, it'd be almost like a community project, really. And then towards the end of each week, every Thursday, I will recap what I made that week and any new lessons I learned while making it, alongside the other guests who will talk about their own process and their projects. Think of it like I would give them the mic and let them do what I would usually do. Project 1, Piano Black era, starts now. Find me in Set Theory on Instagram and Twitter. And if you have any questions or feedback, feel free to send me a DM on Twitter and Instagram. Links are in the description. If you found any value out of this episode, I appreciate it if you leave a review if you listen to the audio version, or like and subscribe if you're watching the video version. And feel free to leave a comment down below if you have any insights or questions. Thank you.